Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 350 or 362. I'm sorry. Hopefully, you guys have had a great day. I've got an amazing guest with us tonight. Uh, Conscious Riddims, is that correct on Instagram? Is that where they can find you, sir?
Yeah, man, at Conscious Riddims and also at Institute of Natural Farming if you want to get more just straight up farming information, you know?
Right on, right on. I didn't. That's not the link. That's not how we connected. So that's
No. We're a man of many hats.
Nothing wrong with that, my friend. That's nothing wrong with that. So how you doing tonight? Where are you at? As far as like location.
Yeah, everything is Irie. I'm doing great. I'm here in Kealakekua Bay on the big island of Hawaii. And I'm actually at my retail record and smoke shop called Conscious Riddim Records in Hawaii. And we've been having this store going for 18 years now. Started when I was in college, and I'm an old guy. So we got this shop that we've been running for a long time. And that's where I'm at the moment, and just giving thanks for the opportunity, man.
I thank you for being here, my friend. It's awesome to have you here. And I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit of your cannabis story, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I like to find out where it started. You mind telling me where, when and where cannabis came into your life?
Yeah, for sure. Let me pull back in the deep recesses of the mind. Basically, I'm a second generation ganja farmer. So, I was stealing roaches out of my dad's ashtray when I was 12 years old. And, we would, my dad's, basically, we were the thieves of my dad's crop, So when my dad got raided, it was his kids, you know what I mean? So, so yeah, second generation, always been around it, always been part of my life. My dad was one of those original, like, renegade hippie type dudes that just wouldn't comply with false information and false laws, like when it comes down to cannabis and the prohibition that we all had to endure. And, as a child, I still have, nightmares of the noises of helicopters, because in Hawaii we have green harvest. And every time a helicopter would come over my house, my dad would dash out into the yard and start throwing pots around and throwing stuff under trees, throwing stuff under our house. So, I've been through the ringer as far as the prohibition goes, and my dad being one of those spearheading, crazy hippie dudes that just made it happen, you know what I mean? So I give thanks for that. And then personally, probably partaking in my first, pull of ganja at around that 12-year-old, 13-year-old age, probably a roach of my dad's or maybe some of his shake. And one of my older friends said, "Hey, let's smoke that out of a pipe." And I had never done that before. And we smoked and we jumped on the trampoline, and, I was a lifer, I knew that plant had something magical for me, and it had a connection with me that I couldn't deny, and just been cultivating it from there, throughout the high school days, obviously just smoking your dad's leftovers, and then coming up into, finally he started teaching me cultivation. So I got to cultivate with my father for many, many years as a teenager, coming up into my early 20s, and then finally branched off on my own, getting my own properties and my own houses going with different grow situations, and always obviously working that life too of multiple income streams, and not being a dependent on cannabis, but just knowing that it was always there for me.
Well, much respect. I have tons of respect for people like your dad that were doing it way before it was cool. When it was just the right thing to do, man, to be honest with you. And
Exactly.
We wouldn't be here to this day without people like your father and other people. So I got to thank you and respect to him, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing I think is awesome about this story for is the generational aspect of it, being able to
Yeah.
be passed from father to son. I'm actually grateful for these days myself that, this we've come to a point where it's, legalization is quite a thing, and it hopefully will be full bore at one point. And this is a dream that I'll be able to share with my children as well without the fear of repercussion that I'm sure you and your father had growing up. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Definitely. Yeah.
it's good times.
I have a son as well now. So he'll be a third generation ganja farmer or ganjapreneur if he so chooses. And, that really does warm my heart, and it really gives me some good vibrations that he doesn't have to endure that fear factor that we did as children. And he's going to look at this plant a whole different way than we had to look at it, as some demonized, criminalized thing, so that is a really brilliant and great progress of our human race to finally release the shackles of making a plant illegal, so yeah, big things as far as positive things on the earth, that we could keep more positive than the weird shit going on around the world these days.
I agree. I usually ask, at what point did it for, person on the other side from it go from like a recreational type use? Because most of us aren't as, in my case, I'm going to say lucky enough to grow up on a ganja farm because I'm jealous in that aspect, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, I actually scrolled a little bit there. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't even smoked yet. That's the bad thing. So I usually ask, at what point does it go from like a recreational use to like a medical use? And most of the times I find it's when the cultivation starts. So that puts you way ahead of the game as far as appreciation of the medical side of things. So
Yeah.
I guess I can, if you want to speak to that, you can.
Yeah, honestly, it pretty much went from being like more of kind of a recreational thing to a spiritual thing. That was my shift personally in my life. So when I was coming into my adulthood, and your frontal lobe starts expanding, and you start being able to think a little deeper and understand deeper concepts, so that's really, when my cannabis use shifted from, maybe taking bong hits at a party to really consciously consuming it and feeling the deeper feelings that it gives me and the deeper intuition and thoughts that it gives me. And, so for me, it was more like maybe using it recreationally as a child or as a youth and in high school. And still, though, you can't deny that wasn't spiritual use too, or medicinal use too, depending on your conditions. But then, going into, becoming an adult basically, and stepping up to the plate and realizing that the cannabis was actually a spiritual gift that was given to us by the creator. So, that's how I view it. Medicinal never really made too much sense for me because that's a given, it's obviously it's the healing of the nation, medicine heals, so it's always been a medicine to me, and then it's always recreational kind of. That's really the word. That's, who really uses it recreationally? I don't, maybe if you're some kind of street hoodlum or something, but I don't really see it being too recreational anyway, because it's inevitably going to affect you spiritually and medicinally. So, yeah.
I'm glad that you bring up the spiritual side of the cannabis because that's the one side of it that I don't think gets talked about enough, to be honest with you. There is a huge spirituality in cannabis.
Yeah, well,
and for me, it starts with the grow, back to the grow, the cultivation side of things. That's when you really start to see that aspect of it.
100%, and that's why natural farming is really the go-to method for cultivating medicine. To cultivating spiritual plants. You know what I mean? So if you're not natural farming something that was meant to be, natural, you know, that you're kind of starting with like one leg in the trap already, or kind of sinking backwards instead of forward, you know. But yeah, man, I agree. The spiritual side is not talked about, obviously, because that was the actual reason it was illegal in the first place. I mean, if you really think about it, it wasn't because it was like an herb that alleviate back pain and stuff like that, or an herb that helped you sleep. It was an herb that awakened the third eye. It awakened the pineal gland and expanded the frontal lobe to be used. No other animals have a frontal lobe except for dolphins, but like the human being does, and that's where the cannabis reacts. It reacts on the frontal lobe, and that makes you a human. That's what makes you intelligent. You know what I mean? So you can't escape the spiritual side of cannabis. That's all it is, really, if you think about it, you know.
So, is it always been outdoors for you there? I mean, it's a unique experience. I think when you're lucky enough to be in Hawaii, it's a beautiful place there.
Yeah, man, it's true. So the thing about Hawaii is we grow cannabis year round. There's no break. It's just you're always growing cannabis, and it's always flower season, you know. So what I mean by that is there's not really a vegetative state. Like it doesn't really, you don't get those 2, 3, 4, 5 months of vegetation. Anytime you put a clone out or a seedling is just going to go by its genetics, but a clone will flower as soon as you stick it outside and take it out from extended light periods, you know. So in Hawaii, it's a little different. Like we don't light depth, we have to light extend, you know. So in order to keep a plant in veg, we got to extend the light past 12 hours and get it up into that 16, 18 hour range. So anyone that knows what they're doing in Hawaii has supplemental light to hold the plants in veg to get them to a decent size before you flip them to flower. So that's pretty unique that we have this consistent year-round cannabis farming, and that's kind of like the constant gardener. He never gets a break, you know. Where I see these guys in winter, they're like, "Oh, I'm coming to Hawaii for my trip. I just harvested big, you know." Oh shit, man! I still got to go plant and harvest and everything else in between. It's a blessing. I'm not complaining though.
And that's another thing too. The soil's super rich there, nonetheless, isn't it? For some beautiful, tasty plants there.
Yeah, well, I mean that's kind of a catch-22 because you know some of the older islands like Maui and Kauai and you know Oahu even have a lot more older land that has a lot more soil on it. So over here on the Big Island, since we're pretty much the youngest piece of Earth on the planet Earth, literally the youngest piece of Earth on the planet Earth, we have plenty. We got choke lava rock everywhere. So that's what we deal with, you know, is like my whole farm is basically lava rock, but it's had like an old growth forest on it for who knows how many thousands of years. So there is like these layers and these pockets of soil everywhere that I can kind of get into with a pickaxe and whatnot. But honestly, we have to build our soil from the ground up, utilizing pieces of native soil and pockets that you can find. And then we make our living soil blends, which would be the go-to cannabis soil that we use. Now, up on the north coast of the Big Island and a few other places down on the South Point, there is soil, and people do directly sow into the ground. So there is some of that going on. And yeah, I mean, the earth-grown herb, I mean, has that whole next vibe to it. But I'm a proponent and a teacher of living soil, and that's what I was talking about, the Institute of Natural Farming. Not too sure if you're familiar with that, but I have a YouTube channel where we talk all about natural farming, about Korean natural farming in particular. And I'm actually a certified teacher of Korean natural farming. And I also am a student of Masanobu Fukuoka. And basically, we are proponents and promoters of living soil, of not buying soil from a store, and building your own soil from compost, peat moss, and cinder or pumice, and really letting the microbes work, and you know, utilizing worm castings and compost teas as opposed to utilizing advanced nutrients and earth juice and all these lame old companies that kind of really just get you hooked on their products and then don't tell you that you can get it all from nature for free. So that's really what I'm all about, is living soil, creating my own inputs on my farm for the cost of brown sugar or vinegar. And that's about it. You know what I mean? My whole farm for the last 5 years has been strictly KNF, you know, Korean natural farming methods. And I've bought nothing from the grocery store for at least 4 years now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's something that most people are hungry for nowadays.
Yeah.
We talk about the evolution and the spiritual side of the plant. You know, it calls and seems to beg you along as a person as you grow with the plant. You know, as you techniques. You know, the more and more you learn. It's funny that it ever was the stereotype of a dumb stoner. You know, I've never dumb lazy stoner because I don't see that. And as the more I dig into the cannabis community and with growers, it's just making more people wanting to learn. There's more people learning organics, you know, compost, this, that. You know what I mean? It's pulling us along. It really is.
It's totally true, man. And I like what you said there. And it made me think, like, the only lazy stoner, you know, it definitely ain't a cultivator. That's for dang sure. So maybe some kid playing video games, buying bags might fit into that. But you're right, man. 99% of people who partake in cannabis, and especially cultivate cannabis, are some of the best people and most hardworking people on this planet.
So just for Weedus 207, hopefully you are listening. I know you are. What was that YouTube again? So the mods can go ahead and throw that into chat so they can follow along. Like I said, people are hungry for that info.
Oh yeah, the YouTube channel is basically, I created the school right before this scamdemic started, and when it started, 2 months after I created the school, and I was working on these curriculums, and I was gonna have these like well organized certificate courses and whatnot. I just changed the whole model of the school to basically how do we survive on this planet Earth? How do we grow our own medicine without depending on corporations and chemical companies, and how do we feed ourselves without depending on grocery stores and supply chains that are going to get broken? So that channel, it's the Institute of Natural Farming YouTube channel. Again, Institute of Natural Farming. And we have about 12 offerings right now, and each one is a lecture. I usually give about an hour and a half with a slideshow, and then I usually have a special guest give about an hour and a half. So we did everything from like the history of chemical farming to you know, how to eat to live, how to ferment coconut and turmeric, and how to make probiotic foods. I did a whole presentation on Rastafari and the connection to cannabis. So there's a whole heap of videos on there. The most hit video on there is obviously the one called KNF and Cannabis. So that one has like thousands more views because just because of the tag KNF and Cannabis. But if you look through that channel, you know, there's Growing Food 101, KNF and Cannabis. Dragonfly Earth Medicine was one of the first guests that I had at the school when they came out to Hawaii, and that kind of kicked it off. So yeah, it's just like a wealth of you know, I guess in cannabis they call it regenerative farming information, but when my teachers just called it natural farming. So I'm from the school of Masanobu Fukuoka. I don't know if you're familiar, but he wrote the book One Straw Revolution. And if you haven't read that book as a human being, and especially as a farmer or cultivator, you need to read that book called One Straw Revolution. It'll change your life.
I have read that book. Well, to be honest with you, I've listened to this book several times.
Nice. Me too.
I'm not gonna bullshit you that I picked up the book and read it.
I feel you, man.
I've
read many chapters, but I've listened to it on audiobook twice all the way through, actually 3 times. And yeah, I recommend doing that too, because a lot of people don't got that luxury of sitting down and reading a book, even though you should try to carve out some time for yourself like that. But even just listening to it in the background while you're doing your watering or taking clones or going to the bathroom, cooking food, just listen to some some of the crucial information from these elders that aren't with us anymore, but they left us these legacy keys, you know, these scrolls to read, you know.
So I'm not gonna bullshit you at all. At one point, I did grow in soil organics. I've been through cocos most of my growing career. I'm opening my mind back up to the organics world, but I have in my journey. I do listen to a lot of gardening books and One Straw Revolution type books. And what I've come across that I really enjoy about the KNF and a lot of those methods is this period. You might be listening for gardening reasons, you know what I mean, but there is a lot of spirituality buried in them books as well that I love. You know, the balance of everything both in your garden and in your life. You know, it's definitely a multi-purpose book, just one of many, to be honest with you.
Big time.
I'm looking forward to opening that door a little bit wider, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just boils down to a simple fact, you know what I mean? Nature is God, God is nature. You know what I mean? God created nature. Nature is a representation of God. You know, corporations aren't representations of God, but nature is. So really, like, once we're out there in it and you're participating in it and turning off the noise and the EMF and the static and all these kind of interferences that man has made for our psyche and for our spiritual being that resides right here in this body, you start communicating with God and you start getting downloads from nature. And you could put any word you want when I say God. You could fill that with anything that makes you comfortable. But it's the naturalness that's coming from the ether, from the plants, from the elementals. You know, I don't know if these things are real, man. And the only reason they're not real is because we've been dumbed down is why they're not real. All of our sensory organs, our true sensories have been dialed down. So we're basically at base level human, where we could be way up here at high functioning human. And a lot of that has to do with our disconnection from nature. So through my teachings is always to get back in nature, take off your shoes, eat some dirt, you know, go in the ocean, do something, man, to get connected, because this world is trying to get you unconnected. They're trying to tap you into the artificial, the AI, the cell phone, the Zoom, the this and that, you know. But really what we need is to look at the sun and stare at the moon and wonder what constellations are, and feel the microbes crawl up our hands and watch the worms wiggle. You know, this is magic, man. This is the stuff, you know.
I completely agree. 110%, my friend. 110%.
Respect, man. And to you know, to address your statement about, you know, you've grown organically, you've grown some in soil, you've went to cocoa, you've done hydro, and that's awesome because you're a human being experimenting with what fits best into your life and what resonates with you best. But I do want to give you some anecdotal evidence. Like, we took a tour of 710 Labs in Oakland, and this is like a huge 710 lab. Is the really high grade hash making company that's in Colorado and Oakland. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're one of the top tier, right? And we go through there. They have half of their whole grow is living soil, you know, and they actually get more money for the living soil hash than they do for their hydroponic hash, or whatever that drip emitter with the weird little cocoa cup thing. I don't even know what that's called, but they get more money for the natural farmed soil cannabis hash than they do for the other. And they've even marketed the hash so people know that it's soil grown. So it's kind of like the consciousness is also going back to natural, even though, I mean, I understand that people need to like make their bread and they got their system down that works. And, you know, the thing is though, once every step you take out of nature, you have to counteract it with a human answer. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you know, my pH is off. So now you're going to have to go and adjust that pH by humanness, you know? Oh, there's this thrip or this mite, you know, now I got to spray the shit out of my plants because it's all the human steps that made the mistake. So now you got to take more human steps to correct it. And the alternative of that is letting nature correct the imbalances. And that's where I've gotten my greenhouses too, because they are exposed to nature 100%. They're open walled, but they're covered. And basically it's anytime I see a problem, it'll basically mitigate itself within a couple weeks, just with a little bit of attention from me, just kind of letting it know that whitefly, you're not welcome here. And I'm going to spray some compost tea, and I'm going to invite in the good microbes and instruct them to get rid of the whitefly. The thing goes away. You know what I mean? So that's where we can be. We can be so in touch with nature that we instruct nature, and I feel we can all do that,
So, if you don't mind me asking, if I remember correctly, it was like 18 years, right? Something like that, growing, from, father to son. So what was,
yeah.
and you've only kind of referenced, 4 to 5 years of that to be living soil or K&M. So what was the turning point? What was that revelation that was like, hey man, I got this.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Well, just to be completely honest, 100% clear, my dad's method was always to buy like a big bag of like something like Pro Mix or something kind of neutral. And then so I always grew up with all those bags of down to earth fertilizers. So he would go buy green sand, bat guano, humus, all those bags of like these 50-pound bags of organic fertilizer, and he would line them up. And then he would have his kind of neutral Pro Mix, and he would just do a scoop of each. He wasn't scientific about it or anything. He just knew those plants need this stuff. That's all he really knew. And he'd had some like agronomy classes and some horticulture classes in like junior college. So he was just going off this very loose knowledge but being a guerrilla gardener from California his whole life, of kind of growing right in the native soil next to streams, using drip emitters coming out of streams in California to feed the native soil that he said he would just put like bat guano or kelp around the base of these plants, So that's was the school I came from, was kind of like throw everything at it, organics. So I never, ever, no one ever instructed me to buy advanced nutrients or anything like that. And then at Ace Hardware here in town, you don't got to even go to a grocery store, and they have that brand Earth Juice. So I use that brand Earth Juice for years and years and years, coupled with this, what I thought was organic living soil, but was really just kind of like an attempt, an uneducated attempt at organics and living soil. But even those words weren't even termed yet, living soil. But my dad was an OG, he wanted his cannabis to be proper. He wasn't really in it for the bulk or for the money. He wanted his proper smoke. He always told me, son, grow enough for yourself, sell the rest to your friends. And I've always lived by that principle.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that either. Making sure your friends have gotten some good cannabis too.
Yeah, even your friends might need 100 pounds, so you could grow a lot still.
Is there ever enough? Is there ever
right? Just get more friends,
And that's funny that it's not difficult at all to make friends with cannabis.
No, what a great thing to break the ice, right?
I agree.
You gotta fend them off, bro. What do you mean? No more friends, bro. I'm good.
When I go out to events, man, I like to share, just for that reason, right? As you just stated before, that it's easy to make friends. I go out to concerts and stuff, man. I bring enough for everybody, man.
No one hates
known for.
No one hates the weed.
I love. And you get, I've, it's another thing. It's kind of funny thing you say that is, must have died. Shit. Hopefully it charges up or plugs in. Cheers, everybody. Sunrise grow, gray sun grow. Wow, kind of coincidental. FX, cheers to you as well. I hope he comes back. Miss Chicha B, how you doing? Mike B, how you doing? Ned Denver. It's funny, me and Tao were talking about the Tao song today. Loving it. Still. Ted Westport, much respect to you, my friend. Who else we got here? Prometheus, Sorrel, Fried Piper, Ned Denver. Oh, there we go.
We there?
Yeah, I'm so glad you're able to come back.
Sorry about that, bro. I just had a little glitch on the phone set up.
Oh, it happens. It happens. It's
Nice.
funny because as I looked up and you're disappearing, I look up and chat says great guest and you were gone.
Right on. I'm back, man. I'm back. I plugged in my phone too, so the battery won't die again. Kind of smart. But yeah, where were we at?
We were talking about the abundance of cannabis and how nice it was to have.
Oh yeah.
Around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember what I was saying was taking some to concerts, events, other cannabis events. I happen to absolutely love the raw 1-footers. They're absolutely perfect. They hold about 12 grams, and
Nice.
they're perfectly. As long as you pass them in the middle, and you're kind of. Most people want to grab like it's a regular joint.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you gotta
tell them, man.
Come on.
Then everybody gets some. Everybody gets something like that.
That's a cool one. That'll attract the crowd quick, man.
It does too. And what I was saying as you fell out there is you go to a concert with a handful of those and you might have bought the cheapest seat in the house, but you're not going to sit in the cheapest seat in the house.
There you go, bro. Stoner tricks, bro. You take notes, guys.
So I not to get too deep on this subject, but I thought it was funny as well, and it does kind of get us back to what we're talking about. What's the scamdemic? I kind of really believe that too. But what I think was really nice about that phrase and what you do is it directly relates to one another. Getting your hands in the soil, like you said, I don't know about eating the dirt, but maybe eating some fresh, unwashed vegetables out of the garden.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go that route. I'll skip the mouthful of dirt. But I'll take the unwashed green beans, tomatoes, and whatnot.
That's what I'm saying,
But I think it boils down to, as you kind of touched on, the microbes, man. The microbes, that living soil. People forget how in touch we are. We were supposed to be at one point, but things have, as you said, we've gotten so far out of whack that it's crazy. But those of you and us that put our hands in the dirt, that are directly dealing with the microbes, I think are way ahead of the game. And that's another thing I've learned about in this journey, especially as I've opened up the door to organics. I'm getting to realize how much in tune the human body is with the earth, with the plant. We're basically made up and use a lot of the very same nutrients. We're very dependent on the microbes that are in our gut. You know what I mean? And that's another thing I've learned through this process. That gut, that microbiome, that second brain is true. It's true. That it's not that gut feeling. It's more to that. There's a whole lot more to that. And it is very important. Like you said, we got to get your feet in them dirt. That's another show I've seen too, that movie Earthing on YouTube, that talks about all the frequency causing a lot of anxiety. It made too much damn sense when I watched that. It took like a minute and a half of what they had to say, and I was hooked. I watched the whole thing, and it just made perfect sense. And I'm glad to see that you're out there teaching that what you're learning to others. You know what I mean? It's long overdue, and the cannabis community is ready.
Yeah. Well, listen. Without microbes, without these little invisible helpers and friends, we're all dead. You know, microbes are not here to hurt you. That's not what they do. Microbes only help you. So there's a false thing. There's this false science going around, basically, that there's a microbe for every disease. That was like about 5-10 years ago. They would say, "Oh, you got pancreatitis, or you got whatever, name a disease, and then they'll say this microbe caused it, or this microbe is responsible in part for that." Well, what they found out nowadays is that microbe is actually at the site of the inflammation or the disease caused by toxicity, trying to clean it. That's what the microbe was doing. So one thing I'd like to impart is never fear a microbe. Also, one thing I'd like to impart is go watch the video that we put up called Fungi, Bacteria, and Viruses, Understanding Our Microbial Friends. And I'll say that again, viruses, understanding our microbial friends. Viruses are responsible for evolution, adaptation, cleansing of the cells. If people understood what a virus is and what its function is on Earth and the purpose of it, they would not fear it at all. Or maybe they would fear it if they were super unhealthy and needed to be cleansed. Then they might fear a microbe or a virus. But listen, healthy plants don't get viruses. I'll say that one again. Healthy plants do not get viruses. That's all there is to it. So healthy humans, guess what? Yeah, that's the truth. So anyway, there's this video that just came out all about this tribe in Africa. No heart disease, no cavities, no degenerative diseases. None of this exists. And why? Is because they have one of the strongest microbiomes on Earth, because they're still eating their indigenous food that's unwashed, untreated. So yeah, it's really, really important, our relationship with microbiology. And I'll tell you what, they're trying to dupe us hard. They're trying to take us for fools. That's what they're trying to do. And the thing is, we got to understand that it's been going on for a long time. There's a war, and literal war, on microbiology. So just think about it. Think about chemical foods, how they're cultivated, sprayed, fed chemicals. Chemical nutrients is like taken direct inject right to the plants. So it's bypassing the microbial biology and the chemical processes, the chemistry that a microbe has, and it interchanges with, say, kelp or bat guano or phosphorus or nitrogen, and makes it available for the plant through its secretions and its digestion of those materials. Well, it bypasses the microbe. It's trying to tell you, we don't need microbes to grow food. We're going to use chemicals instead. So the thing is so off base of what God or nature has structured this planet to be, where we need microbes to be healthy, to grow food, to cycle nutrients. They're trying to bypass microbiology to do the same thing, to grow food, to do these things that microbes have done forever. So just like in the roots of a soil, in order for those roots to uptake nutrients, they need the microbiology to exchange the nutrients, to eat the exudates, and to secrete the food form that they can uptake. It's all about ions. It comes down to positive and negative ions, because a plant can only uptake a certain ion. The microbe changes that ion so it's uptakeable by the plant. Okay. So this war on microbes goes back to everything: Cloroxing the shit out of your house, cleaning and bleaching everything. The medical industry, sterile. My wife was giving birth to our first child, and I go and it says, okay, wash and be sterile before you come in this. And then right after that, there was a sign that said, be aware there's super microbes in this hospital that have adapted over time to our sterile environment and now are unbeatable. So through this human interaction of trying to make everything sterile, we're creating these microbes that all they're trying to do is their job still. But now they're becoming mutated and dangerous to humans and whatnot, because of our own mistakes of trying to keep things too sanitary, So instead of hand sanitizer at every door, there should be a compost in front of every door. You walk in the store, you got to compost your hands first, rinse them in some water. Now you can walk through the store, because anything that's going to take out a negative microbe would be another microbe, not bleach, you know? So we need a symbiosis of microbes that it's just like I mentioned, like the pest in the natural farming setting gets taken care of by other larger pests. It's the same in the microbe world. Any microbe that's doing something harmful, another microbe's going to come and correct it, you know? And so we got to realize that this balance is in our favor, you know, and the relationship with these microbiology goes back to our very creation. From coming out of our mother's womb, we get covered in lactic acid bacteria. We pick up microbes through the nose, through the mouth, through the ears, on our skin. As we come out of the vaginal tract, you know, there's lactic acid bacteria coated all over a baby when he's born, you know, in your ears, in your nose, in your mouth. Right now, there's lactic acid bacteria. That's any foreign thing comes in, the lactic acid bacteria eats it and it takes care of it. You know what I mean? So microbes are clean. Microbes are the cleanest thing on the planet Earth. What we do is we teach Korean natural farming, no smell piggeries. You could have a whole pig farm. You could have thousands of pigs and not any smell, just by working with microbiology, by working with lactic acid bacteria, by creating IMO 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, and inoculating your pig pens with it. No smell chicken coops. And with the no smell keeps out any kind of negative tick or this or that. So it's working with nature symbiotically to get us back to optimal health. Sterility, the doctor, a safe way is not the safe way. You know, that's what we got to realize. They use mind trick tactics to keep us in a box, when really all we have to do is think for ourselves, and all the answers come pouring in. Tap into the microbes, tap into nature, and you get all these downloads for free. You don't even have to go to the university or nothing. You just had to go in the garden, you know? So yeah, I'm a big proponent of teaming with microbes, right? That's the name of the guy's book, Teaming with Microbes. That they're our allies. We don't exist without them. We need to realize this. You could wash your skin all day fucking long. You could take 20 showers and you still got microbes all over your skin, you know? We need to realize these are our allies and our friends. We can't fear an invisible microbe. We can't. You cannot let your mind over to fear an invisible microbe. What you do need to do is tune into yourself and get this thing straightened up and in line. Get rid of the processed foods, the excessive saturated fats, the chemical laden foods that we get at most grocery stores. And we need to just start living real again, being human beings, and teaming up with microbiology that's actually responsible for our health. The microbes are responsible for our health. They help us be healthy. We need to really realize that. And then that transfers directly over to the plant world. And that's why Korean natural farming is so crucial, because you're actually cultivating microbes and actually growing them in abundance, and then broadcasting them onto your agricultural system, and then nurturing them. It's amazing, man, what we could do if we just tap back into nature. Imagine that, a whole society tap back in, like a Japanese village, a rice village, or like a German potato village or something. You know what I mean? These people were living roots, you know, and they're just all super healthy. You know, you couldn't fool them with none of this shit, none of the scamdemic. No ancient person would fall for this shit, you know. But I mean, I could keep ranting about the scamdemic or microbes, but basically the point is you need to realize there's a war, a literal war. You know, they have a war on drugs and a war on this and a war on that. There's a war on microbes. That's what we're presently in, are the death throngs of the war on microbe. They're like going for the death kill on the microbes. Sanitize your hands. Fucking don't, you know, what is this shit? If you understood viruses and the mask thing is the biggest joke ever, because a virus is so fucking small. Like they could basically drive buses through these masks, you know, 30 buses. That's how small they are. And we're over here strapped up and save grandma and shit. And it's like, yo, man, this has nothing to do with reality of what it actually takes to be a healthy human being. You need to drop the misinformation, drop the mainstream media and tap back into your own intelligence, your own guidance, tap back into those microbes. God works through the microbes, man. I'm telling you.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you once again. Once there's multiple things here, I agree with what you're saying. First and foremost is the fear of the virus. You know what I mean? There's two things. Like you said, it may be good or bad, but fear in itself automatically weakens your immune system. Already, you put yourself in a state of panic. So, why worry? Why put yourself in fear of what the unknown? One, two, there's the germ thing. When they told everybody wipe their hands, and what happened? Now they're giving us pieces of it that we could have picked up from the grocery cart from not
direct inject, bro. Direct inject.
Yeah. It is crazy when the whole natural cycle should just be left alone.
Okay. There's also, I mean, think about it. There's also a war on nature in general. Like they had us watching these shows as youth where the lion's killing the thing and the bear's killing the thing and the wolf has the big gnarly teeth. Those things don't want to kill you, bro. None of those things want to. You think a snake wants to bite you? A snake don't want to bite you. He wants to defend himself or defend his children, just like you would. So don't blame nature because you accidentally scared the shit out of a snake and got bit. He didn't want to bite you. That's just what happened because of the fear that he had of you. That there's no wolf out there to attack you. There's no lion coming for your children. Like these are all falsities that are broadcast on us. So we fear nature when really we are nature. We're actually the synthesis of nature. Man is actually just he's like the highest being ever created on this realm. He is the dirt and the air and the fire all mixed together. Earth, wind, water, that's us. That's the human being. We're not just another animal. You think we're just another animal? No, we are the stewards of the earth. The Bible tells us that we're the stewards of the earth. They replaced the word with dominators or dominion in the book of Genesis, but the word is stewardship, that we were created on this planet to care for it. Why do you think we have hands and like thumbs and stuff and we don't have big hooves and trunks and shit? Because why do you think we have a frontal lobe and no other animals do? Because we were the ones that could ask the elephants to move this way and create a new riverbed. We were the ones that could direct the buffalo herds this way and make a new path to we were the ones that could create new water systems and irrigate lands and stuff. We were magical beings on this planet Earth, and we've been usurped and dumbed down to these pieces of shit is really what's going on. And we need to wake up. We need to get back in tune with our birthright, our God-given birthright of why we're here on this planet, and stop letting these buffoons control our asses while they fly around in private jets with no masks on, Anyway, I kind of got a little angry there. Sorry. I'll try to lighten it up.
Is it anger or is it passion? You know what I mean?
It's to me, frustration.
I see passion.
Passion. Man, that's exactly what it is. Thank you.
So, and it is a weird time like that. It's mainly a triple attack on the immune system, like you said. The fear attack week, the recycling of the CO2 weakens your immune system, and then the coddling of it as well.
We need to understand is what people are suffering from is toxemia. That's the number one sickness in the world, toxemia, not viruses, not microbes, not bacterial infections, toxemia from what you ingest and what you're exposed to on a daily basis. So number one, you're responsible for ingest. What you're exposed to, you don't really have much say over that. because you're living your life, you're driving down the highway, you're going into buildings, and you're trying to survive on this planet Earth. So number one, though, you do have full control over what goes in your mouth. So that's where it starts. You know what I mean?
You know, I think I've said this a lot. I've been doing the show for a little over a year. And I've said this throughout the whole thing. I do not. I'm a whole 100. I'm sorry, 100% sure that the cannabis and uh, you know, the whole natural effect of things is calling us. Cannabis is on the forefront to just open the door of the organics and stuff. And then again with the reemergence of, the knowledge of mushrooms, not necessarily psychedelic, but in general, they're, healing as well. But it's on the other end of it, they are sent here again with cannabis on the spiritual end of things to open up our mind, to open up that frequency, which I think is another stumbling point that we're coming on to with cannabis and this whole adventure. It's being like thrown in our face is our communication with plants and everything else through frequency. I think it's an incredible how we can relate through the with plants, and I think it ain't too long before we realize that that's how everything communicates. Other animals, other plants with plants, is all through frequency. The frequency we get from the sun, the frequency we get from the earth. You know what I mean? It's all in rhythm with each other.
Big time, man. That's the field of knowledge called cymatics. You should check that out if you haven't checked it out. And it's really is. It's vibration and frequency. Everything is vibration and frequency. Even the density of us is just, if you took that frequency and lowered it, we'd just kind of open up and disappear. So it's everything has its purpose because of what it resonates at. You're 100% correct. And that removal from taking the human out of that natural frequency and putting him into the artificial was that first step towards taking us the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I just want to encourage people to tap back into their humanness, to their potential that they are given at birth. Their birthright as caretakers of the earth is really what I'd like to encourage. And the plant consciousness, like you were just touching on the plant consciousness, cannabis, and that brings me back to the original part of the conversation, was the reason why it was illegal in the beginning wasn't no other reason but the spiritual aspect. Like I said, it opened your mind. The cannabis has an intelligence. It has a consciousness that it imparts onto the user. What would they do if we all had free thinking, critical thinking minds? This whole scamdemic wouldn't work. If we were all cannabis users and we use this brain, the scamdemic wouldn't work. So they need you in that dumbed down state to control you, so of course they're going to make cannabis illegal and psychedelic mushrooms and medicinal mushrooms, queen of the forest. It's like, man, these are the tools that make you smart and make you intelligent and make you into a strong human being. So of course Babylon or whatever system's going to attack that. You know what I mean? It's simple, man. I think if you were a world ruler, elite weirdo that wanted to control populations, these are the steps you would take to get there. It's just simple,
So I before I forget, I just want to invite you to tune in. I want to make sure. Look, I'm pretty sure it's April 6th. Yeah, April 6th. A gentleman by the name of Midnight Roots, who I've talked to him last time he was on the show. Great conversation, amazing grower here in Michigan, but a very smart gentleman nonetheless. And we got on the conversation of frequency and stones and stuff like that. And
yeah, we could talk cymatics all day, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. To be honest with
I
never really.
Have you seen those like experiments on YouTube or whatnot where they take the metal plates with the sand or the liquid and then they apply different frequencies? Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Show them that again, man. Show them that again. The flower of life pattern. These are frequencies, man. That's what these are. Those shapes are frequencies, man. Those are the building blocks of our universe right there. You know what I'm saying? And it's proven already by modern day little lame experiments like applying a frequency to a pan as you put sand on it, you know, where you can see the flower of life come into play just through vibration and sound. So this ain't no gimmick or joke. It's not like one of those things where it's like, yeah, wear this wristband and you won't have arthritis. You know, it's like this shit's real, man, to the T. You know what I mean? It's not about believing in it. It's just is what it is. You know.
So this is why I'm more wanting to invite you on more so to watch now, because I think you'll really love this. Is even look him up on Instagram, because you can check out
Yeah,
a
I'll
little
check
bit
them out.
what he's doing.
Cool.
He's big into this midnight roots, but reason I wanted him back on, he's got a lot of things going, but his Instagram drew me in because when we were talking about how plants related. We got talking about Thus Spoke the Plant, books like that, how they could read, what I'm talking about. So,
Mm-hmm.
and he went deep. He started going deep in on this, and on his Instagram, he's using it's basically some type of amplifier, and he's got it fed into his organ, okay, and he's got two alligator clips, and he's clipping them on to different parts of the plant. Different, and this is amazing. So
Wow.
he's finding, like, he'll turn on, like, say, a flute, and then he'll clip on the bottom of the plant and maybe another branch, and it will start fucking playing music. Excuse my language. It'll start, and and he'll change it, like, to like an upper branch,
Go
and the
get different noise.
communication will be yes.
Wow.
And overall, the rhythm will be pretty much the same. You know what I mean? It'll just be a matter of faster or slower. But this is where it gets super cool. It's different rhythms from one cannabis strain to another. And he's taken it even further to, like, house plants. He's got house plants right there, and he'll hook it up, do the same thing.
Wow.
And then he'll do a cannabis plant. And I can't wait to, pick his brain about, but he'll put, like, different musical instruments for the, same spots, and it's amazing the different types of music the plant will play.
Right.
And
So
I'm thinking in my head, if there's some way that you had a room full of, say, that cut to where that rhythm was all the same. I can't help but wonder if you could just, like, mimic that and somehow, like, just fucking drive them plants crazy.
True. I mean, for years and years, we used to play reggae music in our bedroom, for years. And we always, my friend actually swore, oh, it makes a difference, man. It makes them healthier. The reggae music makes them healthier. And I was with them, because it made me feel good. So why didn't it make the plants feel good? You know what I mean? So I think your friend is definitely onto something big time. And it's kind of like we just have these tools now to kind of measure this. But our intuition knows this already too. It knows that these plants are harmonizing and vocalizing in their own way. We're living beings that express those feelings in different ways, where plants have to do it through their means, which is the leaves, the stem, the apical the root, the microbe exchange. That's how they express themselves. We human beings have vocal cords and mouths and stuff, and that's how we express ourselves with animation and hands, And so, yeah, it's just more beings on this earth expressing themselves. And it sounds like your brethren made a cool tool to pick up on that. That's awesome.
And it is. It's just again, cannabis. You know what I mean? Driving, these experiments and stuff like that. And again, I think there's a lot of information out there with microbes and stuff as it is. But again, I think cannabis is going to help, push a lot of studies, both through what you're doing at science and other, you know what I mean? It's just going to help push the whole organics industry and everything along. Open
Yeah.
a lot more. I'm not, I'm scared to say push it along because that can be, once you push things along, then money gets into
Right.
the reasons and it goes crazy for that. But it will open a lot of people's eyes to understand that this is a matter that they can take, on themselves on a person to person basis. And, it doesn't
Yeah, I
have to
mean,
be on a large scale.
right. And I mean, I've seen people even like, someone that might not be so concerned with what they're eating. And then they start getting like kind of concerned with what they're smoking. And they'll start asking like, oh, is this organic or is this grown naturally? And it's like, you're not even thinking about that for yourself, what you're eating, but you're thinking about it for cannabis. So that's inevitably going to lead to yourself too. Because if it's important to smoke high grade cannabis that was grown clean, how about the food you eat? That was, wouldn't you want that to be grown clean and to have the most terpenes and the most flavonoids and the most bang for your buck? So yeah, cannabis, again, it's the gateway drug to love and consciousness. It's the gateway drug to a better life and healthy living and healthy thinking. Cannabis is the gateway drug to health. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And we need to tap in, we need to share it. Everybody needs their cannabinoid receptors saturated because we've been way too deprived for way too long. Even with these CBD products, because these humans haven't activated their cannabinoid system, they take a CBD tincture and instead it healed them. If I could eat 10 bottles of CBD and I don't even know what it doesn't make me feel any different, because these people's cannabinoid receptors have never been activated. Just like you have a nervous system, you have a cannabinoid system from your fingertip to your toe to the top of your head, so, and if humans are living on this planet and they haven't activated that system, imagine how deprived they are as a human being, that system's laying inside them dormant. So yeah, as soon as you activate that with a little draw of herbs, smoke some hash, even eat some CBD or whatever it takes, like all of a sudden you're going to start feeling like more human. You're going to start having a better chance to keep yourself in line, fit and healthy. Cannabis is the key. It's crucial.
It is. And I think it's opening up. Yeah, I don't think it's no coincidence. It's being pushed to the forefront right now and opening up a lot of minds. And again, I do see that as well, what you said there about that they don't really care necessarily about what the nutrients is in their food, but then they start worried about what's in their cannabis, and ultimately it leads back to,
Yep.
oh shit, I should be doing this for myself. And
Right.
you know what I mean? It seems
like,
a little backwards.
That compost tea was so dank. giving your plants better nutrients than you're putting in your body, man, for real. What a thing.
So I'm curious to ask, do you do any breeding, or is it just straight cannabis use or growing cultivation?
Yeah, so most of my growing is from clone, from stock that I've collected over the years. And I mean, I've had these certain genetics for over 20 years, still cloning it, like the legendary Honau Now or Big Island White Widow. I don't know if you're familiar, but it has nothing to do with like the regular White Widow. It's this crazy hashy indica White Widow. It was like back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was the Kush of Hawaii, it was the OG Kush of Hawaii. But this plant would dump hash like never seen before. Nowadays people are breeding to get to that level, but this plant already did that. So I've had those kind of cultivars around for like over 20 years, that White Widow strain. And I love collecting pre-hunted strains from really good growers. I don't do much breeding. I mean, have in the past, but I don't do it consistently or for a business or anything like that. Basically, I mean, I'd love to, but my space is very limited. I live off grid. A lot of my lighting is limited. It's all on solar power. And really the biggest issue I feel with why I don't take up breeding is the moisture. Every time I get male pollen and I try to store it or keep it, it always cakes up and gets, you know, so it's just over the years of breeding, like never was quite my bag, but I am really good friends with some really cool breeders like Pacific Northwest Roots, who's always shooting us seeds, and we do clone exchanges all the time, and we share strains like that. And I got 4 or 5 guys like that are breeders that we like to exchange goodies. And so I don't feel like I necessarily am that guy, so I wouldn't want to kind of front as that guy at all. But I love breeding, and I love pheno hunting. Is really cool too. My older brother, who's my neighbor, has been doing this crazy hash pheno hunt recently, where he's got about 30 different strains that are all sold as hash strains, you know, from like Exotic Genetics, and shout out to like Kush Kurt and like guys like these that are breeding for hash. And so we did just recently buy, my brother in particular just bought about 100 or 150 seeds, and we've been hunting all those, and that's been real fun. Seeing all these different expressions of the same plant, smelling different terpenes coming off. You know, we got like strawberry syrup 1 through 8, and only 2 of them are expressing this crazy terpene, and the other ones are kind of bland, you know, so it's really cool to witness that in the garden. Personally, my space, living off grid kind of limits what I can do, to answer your question. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I was asking, and one of them I wanted to slide in this question with Dutch Woomsley yesterday, and I've had a lot of them guys from Northwest Pacific Seeds,
Yeah.
of course, Kyle Lamahoko,
Lamahoko, nice. Yeah, those are the guys.
They've all been on the show as well.
Oh, nice.
But so I'm curious about, and again, you're not a breeder, but as you know, a KNF farmer, you know, a good steward of the earth. I'm kind of curious on just asking anybody this damn question, to be honest with you, because I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was wondering if, you know, it could be utilized like in KNF gardens, but I was kind of wondering if it could be utilized in breeding as well. It's like if we could intermingle, like say bee farms and cannabis. If we, you know what I mean, introducing like a bee farm would be beneficial for IPM reasons. Another reason would be, I think, for breeding purpose, spreading that pollen around from plant to plant naturally without, you know, having to shake a lot of plants. And another cat, Red Pill, sent me a video on some psychedelic honey they were getting, you know, from poisonous flowers all across the world. I can't even remember what it was, but it was cool. So I can't help but wonder if, again, if you had a, you know, you were cultivating bees with cannabis, if you couldn't get some cannabis enriched honey naturally as well, if it wouldn't be a plus all the way around to try to intermingle the two.
Yeah, I could comment on that. I mean, first off, I have seen some of those articles and posts about the guys doing the honey and cannabis breeding projects right next door, and they're claiming that terpenes are coming into the honey, and even I can't imagine like THC or any cannabinoids transferring into the honey. I mean, personally, but I don't know that bag so much, but I am familiar with what you're talking about. But talking more about natural farming and utilizing bees on your farm is a great idea. On my farm, personally, we have 3 neighbors that have bee farms. So usually when I go to the greenhouse, like all my pollinator undercrop that's blooming will have bees going through it. And then the scary part is, to me, is that usually when a bee is on like a flowering cannabis plant, it's stuck to it. Is more times than less I've found a bee stuck to my cannabis than more it actually doing something with the plant itself. So that's kind of a downside to see a dead bee stuck to your cannabis. But I would say in pertinence to the breeding, man, how cool would that be is if you let the bees actually pollinate your plants, you know what I mean? That's like some cool shit right there, you know, and then you just kind of stepped out and let it do open air pollination with the bees and the wind and whatnot. I'm sure you would probably get a bumper seed crop out of that. But to be more specific towards KNF, we do have formulas that we can combine for the idea of more seed production, for the idea of letting a plant finish all the way through and produce seeds. So there are some of the inputs that we could combine to help with more seed production. Will that be, it'd be subtle. It's not going to be like, oh, we did these applications and now we got 10,000 seeds instead of 1,000, but you will see some increase in seeds and especially in health and vigor of the plant. So, which would in turn impart that health and vigor into the genetics, hopefully is what you're going for, you know? I don't know if that answered your question.
So what would something like that, what is something like that?
Well, I mean, to get into a KNF, basically there's 9 core solutions. I don't know how familiar your guests or your listeners are with KNF, but we could spend some time on that if you want. Basically, there's 9 core solutions, you know, and there's 3 or 4 ferments that you make. One of them's a fish ferment. The other ones are plant extract ferments. There's a bone char that you make for your phosphorus. You know, you burn animal bones and soak them in vinegar, and you get a water-soluble calcium phosphate. There's also there's actually the calcium supplement that we get through oyster shell, through coral, crushed coral, or through eggshell, extracting that calcium into vinegar, making it 100% bioavailable to the plant for immediate uptake. So with thinking about the seed production, there's like a seed soak solution that you do for your seeds prior to planting to ensure their strength. But more for the seed finishing, as we would go, there's a finishing formula, which is a combination of 3 or 4 of the different inputs. And we would just tone either up or down some of the nutrients to signal to the plant that we want it to seed and we want it to stay healthy through seeding. So basically it'd be more like signaling the plant, so we could make fermented plant juices already out of seeded crops from your farm, not necessarily cannabis, but any seed bearing plant is what we would use that ferment to then signal to our plant to seed. And what you're basically doing is when you make that ferment, you're capturing the phytonutrients, you're capturing the enzymes, you're capturing the signals that plant is giving to itself, and you're capturing them in a ferment. So then when you pour them onto another plant, they're going to pick up those same signals through the soil that you captured in that ferment. So when we make fermented plant juice, we're going to make a veg plant juice out of grasses or out of fast growing shoots of vines like pumpkin vines or sweet potato vines or something. And those are going to signal our plants to also vegetate. And since they're the apical merisca of these vines, it's going to contain those hormones in there to also feed the plant to stimulate vegetative growth. Now, once we're crossing over or going into fruiting, we have a crossover fermented plant juice that we would use unripe fruits or plants just going into flower. You could use rose hips, you could use ginger flowers, you could use unripe papaya, unripe banana, unripe apples. And this is going to signal the plant to then want to start crossing over from veg to flower. So what we're doing is we're capturing hormones, signals, plant communication, we're capturing those in these ferments and then redistributing them on your agricultural system to get the outcome that you're targeting.
GR420 community videos and chat would like to know, do you have any book recommendations for people looking to start making their own inputs?
Yeah, so the go-to book for Korean natural farming is called Natural Farming, and it was written by Master Cho, Han Yun Cho. And that book is kind of hard to get. You might be able to find it on eBay. It's not on Amazon or anything. It's kind of more like you would have to get that if you were taught by him directly or went to one of his seminars. So that's that book. It's called Natural Farming by Master Cho. That's the recipe book for KNF. Now, since that book's hard to get, and since he's super old and kind of he's basically retired now. He doesn't do much talks or seminars anymore. He's passed the torch to a few people. And this can get controversial, so I'm just going to keep it on the surface. But his son, who wrote the Jadam book, Jadam, and that one is available on Amazon and other retail outlets. That's a really good book, but it's not KNF, what Master Cho made. It's his son's version of it, and his son's claiming this is easier and this and that. So that's a really good book, and there's great recipes in there, and it's a great resource, but it's not KNF. It's Jadam method. He created his own method. But to get back to where you can get the actual KNF booklets, there's two places I would look. Number one is naturalfarming.net, or excuse me, naturalfarminghawaii.net. And that's my friend Drake Weinart runs that page, and he's been an advocate of natural farming for about 15 years now, and he's the one who originally brought Master Cho to the Big Island for his first ever seminars. And what he's done is took in Master Cho's book and made it into a pamphlet, which is super easy to read, and he changed a lot of the language over to stuff that makes a lot more sense to the common reader. So he has a book called Pure KNF, and it's on his website. You can order it there, naturalfarminghawaii.net. Also, there's CGNF Hawaii, the Cho Global International Hawaii, which should be the spearhead of Cho's teachings, but these guys are fumbling and they're just like, they have weird power trips in between each other and stuff. I'm not really into that organization at all, but they do also have a pamphlet that's taken Cho's original book and put it into a pamphlet that's pretty easy to read and easy to follow, using Cho's original terminology, where Drake kind of changed the terminology into more semi-understandable terminology. But those two books are available in America, and you can just get them straight off those two websites, and you'll be doing KNF right when you get those two books. But the Jadam book is really good too for other natural farming recipes. And then as far as philosophy, you got to read that Masanobu Fukuoka One Straw Revolution, and also anything from Rudolf Steiner. There's also the original permaculture books that are really key too, to kind of just get your mind wrapped around using nature instead of a store to grow your agricultural system. That's really the key to all the natural farming books. Is we're going to team up with nature. We're going to team with God. We're going to team with microbes. We're going to team up with the plants around our farm, instead of teaming up with advanced nutrients or Fox Farm or some of these weird Monsanto's owned, Bayer owned companies that we really don't want to be giving our money to, but they've convinced us somehow that we need them to grow our cannabis. That's the big riff right there. Is one you're teaming with corporate, the other you're teaming with God. You're teaming with yourself and nature. That's the big divide, you know. But those two websites for the book, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I cut you.
Interject. You had no way of knowing. So I heard you mention earlier on that sugars and vinegars were, other than the inputs themselves, are the basis of this. So how important are the quality of them put in them? To be honest with you, I know in Asian cultures, vinegars, are very sacred. Very, they hold them very close to the vest there. Mm-hmm. So, what can you find here? Should you be trying to make your own, both sugars and vinegars, to produce? Is that, something you make yourself, or should there's something they start with? Can you kind of walk us through, that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And those are actually kind of like advanced KNF questions that come up once people start getting into this. So I could tell you have a very intelligent mind, and that's already coming to the forefront of your mind is, okay, if I'm trying to do this the best I can, do I want to buy organic sugar? Do I want to get imported Korean brown rice vinegar? Do I want to do these things to make it the most optimal, healthy, and support an organic sugar farmer as opposed to CNH chemical? Do I want to do these things? And that comes down to personal choice and affordability. So if you can afford the best and you actually want to spend some money on a method that could be done for almost free, then you can invest into those organic vinegars, organic sugars, And here's how I do it is if you're going to make something for human input, because all of these inputs that you make for your plants, you can take yourself. The fermented plant juice, the water-soluble calcium, the water-soluble calcium phosphate, the seawater, everything, you can actually ingest all this yourself. So if you're going to make one for you and your family, I would definitely go buy organic coconut sugar and make the fruit ferment out of that, and then make myself a nice spritzer soda or a tonic tea out of that FPJ, that fermented plant juice. I would definitely do that. If you're a farmer and you have 10 acres, you're going to want to get the cheapest sugar you can find, because you're going to try to apply that ferment to 10 acres or 20 acres or 1 acre even. So that now you're looking for economics, right? So if you're looking for economics, you can do it with the cheapest sugar, not white sugar now, but the cheapest brown sugar you can find. You can still make a bomb ass ferment. Am I going to want to ingest that as a human? No. Are the microbes semi-impartial? Yes, because what do the microbes want? They want the chemistry. They want the sucrose. They want the chemistry that's in that thing. And they're going to actually clean up any of that duff and that nastiness that's left from that chemical farming process. They'll actually help remediate that while they digest your plants and give you back the plant juice. So there's a whole scale of vinegars and sugars, and I could get into that in more detail, but the basis of it is if it's important to you, if you can afford it, if you want to spend money on a method that's virtually free, then you can. And if you're ingesting it yourself or for your family or making plant medicine, go ahead and invest the money into the organic sugar or the organic brown rice vinegar. That's a smart thing to do. But me personally, like I just go buy the bulk bag of Costco brown sugar, and it's not organic, but it does the alchemy that we're looking for. The chemical processes and the alchemy that we need to take place. It's great for that, and it works perfect for that, you know? So am I supporting a company that I don't want to? Yes. So that's where I would say in my mind, I'm not 100% kosher with it, but I am kosher with making my own nutrients. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice buying that little bit of brown sugar from Costco, a place I don't want to support, and from CNH, a company I don't want to support either. But I would rather do that than buy an advanced nutrients bottle. That's for sure. And you could also, I mean, if we're talking about not having a Costco, not having a store, and just being in nature, yeah, you can create your own sugars from growing sugar cane, from growing sugar beets, from any source of a powdered type of sugar. You can get it from coconut sap. So there's also all sorts of natural ways we could grow our own sugar. Are we going to take time to grow our own sugar to feed it back to our camp? Probably not, but you could. And if you have the information and knowledge, at least you're not left high and dry when Costco closes or this whole shitstorm falls apart, you know? So that's where I kind of look at it. I'm like a doomsday prepper, but not really, but just having the knowledge here to be able to survive on this planet as a human, like we always have. That's really the key, you know? That vinegar you can make your own vinegar. I make banana vinegar all the time. And that's what my go-to vinegar is, because I have bananas all over my property. They're falling off the trees, you know? So I make banana vinegar, and that's what I use. But when I run out, I go buy live apple cider vinegar. And that's a really good alternative as well. Master Cho teaches to use homemade brown rice vinegar, and he has a recipe for it. It's one of the hardest recipes of all of them to create. Therefore, most people buy their vinegars from a store, and most people in America don't have access to brown rice vinegar. So the next alternative is just straight rice vinegar or ACV, apple cider vinegar. Great alternatives, because really what we got to understand about Korean natural farming, about natural farming in general, we're looking for the alchemy to take place. And the alchemy teaches us we need a weak acid. So vinegar is a form of weak acid. So that's the alchemy we're looking for. We need a weak acid to be able to dissolve the phosphorus and the calcium into solution. So at that point, does organic matter? Not to the alchemical solution, it doesn't, but to the consciousness of the human or what we want to eat, it does, you know? I hope that clears that question up.
It did. And there's another great question in chat here again from GR 420 Community Videos. He would like to know if you think that it is more important to start with OHN or IMO when starting from day one.
Well, the whole basis of Korean natural farming is the IMO. So IMO is one of the it's not hard, but it's one of the most involved processes to kind of get going and to get down properly. So I highly encourage you to start with an FPJ as far as just something to get your toes wet in KNF. FPJs are so easy. You just massage plant matter with sugar, fill up a jar 2/3 full, put a breathable lid on it, put it in a dark place, kind of hopefully outside, not indoor. And that thing's going to start fermenting and it's going to start juicing and the microbiology is going to start going to work. And in 3 to 7 days, you're going to have a nutrient you can feed your plants, or more specific, feed your microbes that feed your plants. So an FPJ is the easiest way to get your feet wet. IMO is the foundation of KNF and very, very important, but usually one of the steps that a lot of people that say they practice KNF don't even do is the IMO, because they can't wrap their minds around it nor go through basically a month-long process to complete the finished compost, which is your IMO. So OHN is a medicine for the plants. Super crucial. If your agricultural systems never had OHN, you're going to see it give you a positive boost pretty much instantly into your garden, because this medicine, it's angelica, cinnamon, licorice, garlic, and ginger. And all those, if you check out those in Chinese medicine, they're all qi giving. They're all hot giving, qi, energy giving plants that aid in what? Digestion. They warm the body. They aid in digestion. So the same thing it does for you, that OHN is going to do for the plant. It's going to help the plant. It's going to aid its digestion. It's going to activate the microbes to digest more. It's going to give heat to your soil. So if it's a cold part of the year, the OHN is actually going to warm your soil. So to answer the question specifically, IMO would be the most important. OHN and IMO are pretty much the two hardest. And I don't like to use the word hard because none of it's hard, but the most involved of the Korean natural farming inputs. IMO, the foundation, indigenous microorganism that stands for, and OHN is the medicine. So OHN, I wouldn't say is foundational really in KNF, but it is one of the key inputs.
And then when you speak of learning something and the foundation, why wouldn't you start with the foundation? That might be confusing in the beginning, but it's ultimately going to make everything easier, even the shortcuts, because
let me
you
clarify.
understand how it works.
Let me clarify something real fast, because I just had my brain just worked for a second there. You're going to need all of the other core elements to make your IMO 3. So you're going to need an FPJ, you're going to need the vinegar, you're going to need the OHN, some worm castings to make your IMO 3 pile. You're going to already need those inputs made. So if I could rewind on that answer real quick, you're not going to be able to make IMO till you've made the other nutrients. So that's really the answer, I guess. You're going to need to make some of those other core nutrients like the FPJ, the OHN, before you start your IMO 3 pile. You can do IMO 1 and 2 without any of those, but as soon as you make the 3, that's when you need those nutrients to kick start the microbes, to help them proliferate and inoculate the medium like you want it to. So I hope that clarifies, actually.
So when you switched over to the KNF, it sounds like it was instantaneous. Yeah, I mean,
I could share that story real quick. Basically,
yeah,
I had these. I had these. So yeah, flash forward just about five years back, and like you said, you had to be growing somehow before KNF. And I'll tell you exactly what I was doing. I started learning about dragonfly earth medicine and living soil, right? So I got these huge 150-gallon smart pots, right? And I put those in my greenhouse and I lined them up, kind of staggered them so each plant had its own space, you know, and maximize my space in my greenhouse. Filled them with what I thought was living soil, fed the shit out of them with bottled nutrients and dragonfly earth medicine herbs and compost teas, crazy compost teas, right? Fish hydrosolate. You got your DEM. You threw in some of these worm castings. Like, basically, I had no clue what I was really doing, but I thought I was crushing it on the organic level, living soil level. So it worked great for 10 rounds or something. But come up on 15, 20 rounds, you're getting this yellow necrosis going on and these white fly problems and what the fuck's going on here? I thought I was doing this, Flash forward to what I know now, I was heavily over fertilizing those plants, leading to unwanted health degradation. I was not cover cropping. I was not mulching. These are core elements of natural farming that you need to incorporate for success. You need to mimic nature. So I wasn't quite mimicking nature. I was just going off organic guidelines kind of given to you also by the grocery store because they wanted you to buy all those damn bottled nutrients. So that was the shift. Was I had this disease, this yellowing of the leaves that I couldn't get rid of for the life of me. I sprayed everything on there under the sun that was natural. And then I even would take advice from people about these weird chemicals that might help me. And I tried them a couple times. Never again will I do that because I'm smarter and wiser and older than that now. But I wanted to find the solution to fix this yellowing and this death of my plants that I was witnessing on a large scale. Right when I was trying to find the solution and I was in depth, like studying and what's going on with this plant, what am I doing wrong? That's when Master Cho came to town. Right in that window of thought, I got a call from a friend and he said, "Hey, Master Cho's having a class in a couple days, but it's already sold out. Do you want to go? Because I have someone that's not going and they can give you their ticket." And I go, "Hey man, I think I've heard of this guy a little bit." I didn't quite know who he was, but I just had heard through the grapevine, natural farming, KNF, and da-da-da-da-da. So I was like, man, I got to go to this because I got to figure out how to cure this disease that's on my plants. So come to find out, I needed to rework my whole mind. I needed to approach the garden differently. I needed to mimic and team up with nature. And that's what Master Cho showed me. And then the combination of One Straw Revolution along with those seminars, it just, because I already knew all that stuff true. It just needed to remind myself. My soul knew it was true, but my brain was in the way. So I needed to remind myself, my soul needed that confirmation from those elders. And then how do I make it happen? How do I initiate this new method? So then it just took a little bit of practice, and before you know it, you're cover cropping. Your soil's actually alive. You're not letting it dry out between rounds. You're treating it like a pet, and that's what I teach my students. Your living soil bed it's a dog. Or would you let your dog go without water or food? No, you wouldn't. Just because you hear it whimpering, you're going to take care of it. The microbes are whimpering and you can hear them when you're tuned in enough. You can hear their call. We need water, and you go water. That's how it works nowadays. I'll be doing something, cooking dinner. We need water, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go water the crop because that something signaled me that shit. And then I'll go put my finger and I'll probe around. Sure enough, it's dry, but I just had watered 2 days ago and usually water on the third day. But now I got to go a day earlier because the microbes needed it. There was a slight shift in humidity in the air. Maybe the sun was more intense, and those guys needed water at that moment. So what I teach is living soil needs to be kept alive through cover cropping mainly, and mulching and moisture. Those three things are the key. And most cannabis farmers use only one, moisture, but they don't use cover cropping and mulching. Crucial elements of natural farming, cover cropping and mulching. So once I learned all these methods and I started practicing them, and then I got out of those 150-gallon beds and I put them directly in the ground into these mounds and these living soil, basically like 20-foot. They're 20-foot long by about 4-foot wide mounds. And that's the other thing Master Cho taught. And I also learned from an elder in California when we grew in Cali for a couple of years, and we would dig these big ass holes into the clay and then fill them with soil. At least 2 of your plants out of 40 would die from root rot. And we had no idea why until we started talking to this elder, and he told us, you need to build a pitching mound, a pitcher's mound above the ground. You don't dig into the ground, you build up, and then you plant your plant in the mound. That was a game changer in California. We went from having 4-pound plants to 10-pound plants just in one season. You know what I mean? So my point being, Master Cho also teaches to a plant above the ground. You don't need to dig a hole. And this even goes for fruit trees even. He says that you want to mound up and plant into the mound, because now your whole soil bed is breathing. You're not stuck under the clay where you get no air exchange, you know. So you mound up. That's a key of natural farming. And I'd like to encourage outdoor growers to mound up and not dig down as well, and see the difference in the healthiness of your roots when they're exposed to air like that. So yeah, that was my story of basically coming into Korean natural farming due to the fact that I needed to correct something that was going wrong in my agricultural system, and also the innate calling of my soul that I knew there was a better way out there, and I just needed to find it.
So I just wanted to check in a little bit here, because you were going to cut me an hour, and we're quickly approaching double that.
Let's do like another 15 minutes here or something. I got my son, and it's about dinner time. So yeah.
And again, I appreciate your time. So I don't want to over.
No, over, I mean, we can do it. If people want to hear more or whatever, we can do it again too. You know what I mean? It's this information needs to be out to the world, and if I can be a purveyor of it, that's freaking awesome. You know what I mean? I'd love to just. That's why I opened the school. That's why we got the YouTube channel. That's why I look like this. You know what I mean? It's like we're trying to get this information out to the masses, shake them and wake them. You know what I mean? If this scamdemic didn't wake you up, I don't know what will. You know what I mean? So you doing your podcast is a great service to humanity. You know, so if I can be here and be of service to humanity through your channel, that's great, man. I really appreciate that. You know.
Man, it's the knowledge that you guys put out there, and it's couldn't be a better time and wake up. Right now, this thing that's going on to teach ourselves to be more sustainable on our own. I mean, come on, it wasn't a year ago this time. I mean, food, everything was in question. How much more of a wake up do we need to plant a garden? Grow your own quality smoke. Do everything you can to take care of yourself. I mean, the knowledge is out there, and even more so, great for the folks like yourself that are teaching, how to make nutrients and grow better gardens. We need it. We need it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And also there's like, our most recent videos we put up on the YouTube was actually a 3-day long class, and we have 2 days up right now. And that one was a bulk nutrient making class where I had about 15 to 20 students, and we made bulk fermented plant juice, bulk WCP, water soluble phosphate, bulk water soluble. So I'm talking like we had about 30 gallons of each of these inputs, and then each student got to take home a half gallon to a gallon, and so there was no excuse not to use the KNF after. But yeah, these are the kind of things we need to do, man. It's time to take back our sovereignty, to take back our birthright. And being dependent on the government, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. Like the dependency on the government thing is disgusting. You know what I mean? Because you were born into this world with everything you needed to survive on this world. Like I said, we're like these etheric beings. We're like these beings that are all the elements made into one thing. And that's the human. So we're like super special, man. And we need to like realize that again and stop selling ourselves short. We're the gods of the earth. We're the kings and the queens of this earth. That's who we are. And if we realize that, we would stop being petty slaves and thinking ourselves as lowers. You know what I mean? We're the kings. Me and you. You know, the listeners. Like, we're the kings of this world, of this realm, and we need to start acting like it. And that doesn't mean bullying people and overutilizing resources or wasting. It means being responsible and kingly and just and upright and true and real. You know, that's what we need to bring these kind of principles back into our world. You know.
I agree. Chad, I know you haven't been able to see. I don't think you've been able to see Chad tonight. They have given you tons of props all night long about the great information, all that. So I just want you to know, if you happen to go back and watch this, you will be able to check out all the great comments and nice things people have said tonight.
And that's on your YouTube channel?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool, man. Definitely hit me up when is it gonna go? Are you gonna put it out right after we're done, or does it take a couple days?
It's live right. Oh no, it's live right now. In fact, I think there's like let me check. I think there's like 90 people watching us right now.
Awesome, man. Well, big up all the people out there, man. I just want to give thanks, for taking this time and spending it with us here, with Eagle and the brethren. And this is really important, man, what this man is doing, bro. He's trying to bring, different thoughts and different thinkers to the forefront of this YouTube channel to open up the minds of men. You know what I mean? This is an incredible time we are here living on this earth, and we need each other, man. We need to wise up and rise up, man. This is the time, man. So give thanks, Eagle, for making it happen.
Man, I hear that a lot, and I hate that, to be honest with you, because I just show up, and it doesn't happen without great folks like yourself and the people tuning in that are hungry for the information that guests like you are putting out. So it has very little to do with me. It's the information you're putting out and the hunger on the other end. The community, the cannabis community is amazing. It's growing day by day. This thing right here, this is 362 episodes I've done this. Like I told you, 11:30 to 4:20.
That is
every
intense,
night,
bro.
I've three 24-hour episodes.
Wow.
And one of them I'm inviting you to, I would love for you to take part in very soon. And that's the 420 episode that I did last year. Nice. I went 24 from 11:19, 11:30 at night to 11:30, 4:20. And I brought as many people as I could in the community, a lot of the people that we all look up to. It started off with a great sesh. And, I'll get to that later on. It started off with a great sesh. And what a great guy that hangs around Smiley's Gardens kind of said, you should do it, 24-hour. And, we can do it for charity. Nice. And that's what it started out. So with a week time from A to B, I threw together exactly what I could. It was hard to get a charity. You know what I mean?
Right,
and it was even because of the there was multiple reasons. Cannabis influence.
Right.
The pandemic. Nobody was around in the offices to answer phones, and but in the end, it worked out, to be honest with you, because I thought, in the end, it was easier instead of trying to support maybe one charity or something that I believed in. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard to get everybody behind one. You know what I mean? So what I ended up doing was everybody that came on, it was in like groups of 3. I might move it up to 4 this year. Because that's a good number for a click conversation. Basically, it would be like me and you scheduled for an hour, and then somebody else would come in like a half hour through, which usually brought new questions and stuff like that. So that's what it will be this year. 24 hours of that. And what I'm asking again, it's the idea, 420 is that stoner holiday, but what the idea with this was we could do something good, put our minds not just behind getting high, but good vibes as well. So I was asking the guests to come on, whatever, when they come on at the end before they left, please think about this. This is what my heart's passionate about, and so it worked out better that way. More issues, more got light, more things that people were passionate about were introduced into the community. But I'm hoping, that I can pencil you in for some time in that 420 to maybe come on and pop on for a few minutes and just support the community. And like I said, show that we can promote other things and we can enjoy cannabis and promote other good things as well.
Yeah, man. The smartest people on the earth use cannabis, bro. Don't let them fool you,
As we're winding up on the last of that 15 minutes, I want to kind of clue you in on a little few things. One of them was kind of what I was talking about, that amazing sesh there. Back in the day when that happened, they were termed the rabbit hole, but the rabbit hole kind of got, when you buy a new car and then you kind of see it everywhere. That's kind of what happened with the rabbit hole.
Right.
So, and this is kind of a funny side story. As I grew and the community grew and the people that were hanging around, things got organic real quick.
Right.
And then a gentleman from the UK kind of come on and shared a story that had much to do with worm compost and all that. So the show changed, that portion of the show changed from the rabbit hole to the wormhole, which seemed to be more fitting.
I like it. Yeah, man. I want to encourage people to start a worm bin. It's about one of the easiest things you do, and we actually have a video up on the Institute of Natural Farming called worm. It's a worm farming video. It breaks it all down for you, and you need a worm bin in your house, like right outside your house or in your grow room. All your kitchen scrap can be eaten by worms and turn right into organic fertilizer for your garden, man. It's pretty amazing. So I want to encourage everyone to get a worm bin. But go ahead, sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, it's important, and please, make that information known. I'm gonna ask you to plug all that here in a second too.
All right.
But so when we don't do the full episode from 11:20 or 11:30 to 4:20, then I'll cut this off and then I'll pick up again with the wormhole. The wormhole is open to all past guests. You have to do the spotlight episode to get into the wormhole. So please keep this in the Zoom invitation that I sent you. It's always the same. So anytime that you happen to come across the channel and you see a wormhole is on Monday nights, 2 a.m. my time is always a wormhole. A no guess or a short guess. Wormholes.
Okay. Man,
so
if you get you shoot me that information on Instagram so I got it in my mind, and I might just do that, bro. Jump on a wormhole with you guys.
You don't ever have to I will shoot you that information, but you don't need the invitation, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, you happen to flip it on and we're talking about, KNF or something that sparks an interest with you. Jump on. Share your thoughts. You don't need that invitation, it's open right now. Awesome, so hopefully you will take me up on that, because it's been a great meet, a great conversation. I can see you have a lot to offer myself and the community. So I hope you will take us up on that. The last thing I'd like to get from you is probably, depending on who you ask, it could be the corniest part of the show, but I'm looking for like the radio soundbite, which ultimately is the commercial for your episode.
Nice.
And this is hard because I see your child in the background, but the show doesn't entitle with the swear word in it. So this is kind of what I'm looking for, but in your words, not mine. Be something along like, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 362. you can put whatever you want with it. Just, make it your
Nice.
own. But that's what I'm looking for. As soon as
Nice.
we get the record here, I am ready. Anytime you are ready.
Yeah, man, you're tuning in. My name is Logan with Institute of Natural Farming and Conscious Riddims. You're listening to fucking Talking Shit with Eagle. And this is it, bro. We're talking with Eagle, man. Tune into Eagle shit because it's real. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. I really
Did I say that
appreciate
right?
it.
What? It was
Yeah,
fucking Talking
absolutely.
Shit with Eagle, right?
Yeah.
Perfect,
Absolutely. You nailed it
Yo,
100%.
listen, man. I used to be a reggae artist, or I still am a reggae artist, and we had to do sound bites for radio stations and all kind of crazy stuff. People send you, they want to do a dub plate for your sound system, and you got to put their sound system name in there or the call numbers for the radio. So we're used to that, man.
That's one thing I enjoyed this whole ride is that I've done it from episode 1, and so they're so fun. Sometimes people are prepared, sometimes they're not. Some of the
Yeah.
great people some of the people that you would never expect. I had like Danny Danko and folks like that. You would think they would be the one and done.
Yeah.
Bam.
Right. Give it
No,
to me again. Right.
4 or 5 takes. Yeah, and they're always fun.
You want a more enthusiastic one? I can give it to you. No.
Well, I'm cool with the first one, but if you're not, we'll take
Yeah, I'm
another
just
one.
playing.
It's all good.
Yes, I.
Again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you taking the time to hang out with me. Time's the most precious thing we have, and you've donated a few of your hours, precious minutes with me and my community, and I'm hoping to spend some more time with you as well. So again, I can't thank you enough. You have a great night, and I look forward to hearing it from you again soon. Please, one last time, Instagram, YouTube, record company, anybody else you'd like to say thank you to?
Yeah.
Now is the time. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, big up, man. Big thanks and big up to Eagle, but just for holding this down, first and foremost. Also, you know what I mean? It's like right now in 2021, I want to encourage everyone to take back their humanness, to take back their mind. One of my favorite quotes through all this is, use your mind or someone will use it for you. I want to encourage original thought. I want to encourage thoughts from your own mind, not given to you from a soundbite, from a radio, from your favorite talker, from the TV. I want you to use your own mind. I want to encourage the cultivation of the ability to use your own mind. I also want you to check out Institute of Natural Farming YouTube channel, because that's where it's all broken down. I feel that the videos that I presented last year cover all the keys to survival on planet Earth as a human being. Check out Institute of Natural Farming YouTube channel. On Instagram, you can catch me for daily, like I rant and rave all the time about the masks and about this BS on my Conscious Riddims Instagram. But it's also an Instagram for our shop. So you'll see glass, dab rigs, bangers, all that stuff will show up every once in a while on the Conscious Riddims Instagram. And then there's also the Institute of Natural Farming Instagram, which is strictly about natural farming, natural living, and conscious living. So those are the main avenues. Flash back a little ways, we are also a record label. We put out our last record in 2015. It was called Be Still and Know. Those are all on iTunes under the Conscious Riddims record label. I highly suggest listening to Be Still and Know or Gather the Remnant, which are two different compilations that we produced over the years. I also am a reggae artist myself under the name Roots Guan, Gwaan, Roots Guan, because the roots have a guan, And so you can check out that too on iTunes. I got 3 albums out on iTunes under Roots Guan, and every song has to do with love, consciousness, burning down Babylon, getting rid of false illusions. So when 2020 came around, I was on to them right away, and I said, fuck this, man. This is all illusional. This is a mind control. Not only that, I have a degree in microbiology. So they could not fool me with the virus thing. I know what viruses do. So watch that video also. That's on YouTube, called Bacteria, Fungus, and Viruses, exploring the unseen world of our microbial friends. Our microbial friends. No microbe wants to kill you. There's no animal. Nature is your friend. Nature is your mother. We need to get back in the bosom of our mother. We need to get suckle on the tit of our mother. That's what we need, because she has everything for us. Mankind has nothing for you. Babylon must fall. That's what you got to understand. So that's what this is. It's a precursor to kind of get the soul ready for Babylon falling, because the souls that can't handle it have to go. The souls that are ready to live on this earth as natural human beings, that's what this is preparation for. So I want to encourage every single one of you to tap back into your humanness, tap back into your God-given rights, tap back into your God-given abilities, because I know you have a talent, I know you have a skill, and I know you have something to contribute to this world that's positive and impactful. So I want to encourage that. Even a YouTube channel, even spreading information is very, very great in these days. So anything you can do that your mind feels that you can do to make a positive impact, go ahead and do it. Do it. It's like I wrote a quote today. I don't like gurus. I like do-roos. Go do something. Go give yourself some advice. Go take some action in this world to make it a better place, because it all starts with you. Be the change you want to see. What did Gandhi say? Be the change you want to see, right? So yeah, herb, ganja, cannabis is definitely the healing of the nations. We need to stop making it into a villain. We got to stop villainizing it. The mothers and fathers of the days of old, the brainwashing, are getting too old to keep their children brainwashed. So now it's our turn as adults to teach our children the truths and rights, how this world really works, what plant medicine really is, what the pharmaceutical company is doing to this great human race. Take back that birthright. Take back our sovereignty. I want to encourage each and every one to do that. Natural farming is a must. Big up talking fucking shit with Eagle, man, because it's awesome, man. So give thanks again, bro. Respect, man.
Thank you. And thank you for that awesome message on the way out too. We needed to hear that.
Nice.
So go enjoy that dinner. I'm gonna go ahead and wind this up. Thanks again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you again. And thanks again one last time for showing everybody that there is just tons of amazing people in the cannabis community.
There is, man.
And you've been a great example of that.
There's a better way to live. Let's do it. Let's do this. Respect, Eagle. Aloha, brother. I'm out.
Aloha. Have a good one. Thank you guys for tuning in on this great episode. I know I've had a lot of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed every second of this as well. You guys know the routine. Please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I'm a living, breathing example of that. You'll never get me to quit beating that drum. Never, ever. Give me a few minutes. Hopefully, I will be back no later than 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stretch, get a quick bite to eat, and hopefully some of you amazing past guests will come join me in the wormhole. You guys, if not, thanks again for hanging out and enjoying this amazing episode. Wow, I knew it was going to be good, but he did not disappoint. Thanks again, everybody. I'll see you in a few. Love you guys.